There's a girl, she's a star. She's got style. Steffi Star, you see her face around the town. She's popular. Steffi Star.
Hi, I'm Stephanie Weinstein.
And I'm Meredith Keach.
We are so out of sorts.
Yes.
We are not in our podcast studio. We don't know what's going on. This is all very strange for us right now.
Well, we're back to the show.
Just for
studio.
today, though.
Yeah.
We have a gorgeous guest today.
Yes.
Please introduce yourself.
I'm Julieb Brennan
From?
We Do Care.
So exciting.
We're going to roll with it.
Yeah.
We're going to do it.
We're honored to have you here today.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Meredith.
Yeah, it's great. And I can't wait to hear all about your journey. Well, Steph hasn't heard it. But I'd like to just start with complaints that you might have.
I have so many complaints.
Okay.
Waking up at 5:30 is not enough time to get everything you need to get done in the morning. For me, personally.
Oh.
I think I had a 10 o'clock appointment the other morning. It put me into a tailspin.
So waking up at 5:30 didn't give you enough time?
No, I was still late today.
I understand.
Yeah.
And I was doing work, and I have to go for a walk, and I've been making my lunch. So my new obsession is zucchini.
Mm-hmm.
And you take a peeler, and you go back and forth on the zucchini, and you make ribbons, and you saute it in olive oil.
Yes.
And then I had already grounded up some turkey.
Yep.
Add the ground turkey, a half a cup of marinara sauce, a little bit of
Nice.
water, salt and pepper. Delicious.
Well, I'm
Sounds
very happy that
incredible.
you're off the cabbage.
Well, no, I'm back. I just bought
For
it.
everyone at the office.
No. I just bought a giant head of cabbage, so I will be slicing that up. And yeah, Alexa, Meredith watching The Office. She's like, "It smells like garbage in here." I go, "That's my cabbage." Oh,
Okay, next one.
that was really it. It's
That's
just
it.
there's just not enough time in the day.
Yeah.
I can't catch my breath.
I agree.
Yeah, but sometimes that's good. I mean, last night I sat down to read for a meeting tonight, and I was like, I can't do this right now. It was 8 o'clock at night, and it was complaints. And it
That's
was a
what you
long
chose
day.
to read at
I
night?
didn't, because you want to be prepared. To your point, like I have so much to do during the day
much.
that, you know, the volunteer stuff gets pushed to late at night. And I was like, you know what? A kettle seltzer and Tom Hardy on Mob Boss is more appropriate for me right now.
That's way better.
It was.
Way better.
Yeah.
What do you do at night?
What
Meredith and I
don't
like
you do? Nonsense.
cocktails.
Well, let's start by telling Stephanie about We Do Care and how it started.
Okay, so Valentine's Day 15 years ago, I lost my partner and closest friend, Johnny. He died in a car accident. So the short story is he left on a Saturday night, and in the middle of the night on his way home, the car went off the road. So our son, Jace, was 3 years old, in bed. I was in bed. It's probably the only night we were together for almost 6 years that I shut off my cell phone. And so the police came to my house at 5 a.m. because South Shore Hospital, where both of our children were born, were trying to call me as next of kin. And so Brockton police came to my house, and they asked me to call South Shore Hospital. And I said, I mean, I didn't know he was dead, but I knew it couldn't be good. And I said, I'm pregnant. You need to call. So the lovely police officer called, found out the news. I took the phone from her, and I found out that basically my entire life trajectory changed with that one notification. I was 34 years old. He was 38 years old. We had a 3-year-old son, Jace, like I said. And 6 months later, I had Anthony, and I was a single mother of 2 very little boys, a newborn baby and a 3.5-year-old. The short story is, living in Brockton, Massachusetts at the time, where I'm from, I was a teacher in Boston, so I had a good salary. There's nothing for people in their 30s when they're widowed. There's also nothing in the area that helps children that lost their dad or their mom. So God kept putting people like me in my path, And it felt as though there was no way that I could just not do what became We Do Care. So because he died on Valentine's Day, ironically, as a little girl, that was my favorite holiday. I believed it was about love and friendship, and it just made me happy. My whole childhood, I drew hearts. I'm sure a lot of little girls do that, but his symbols to my sons and I are hearts in nature. He sends us signs. I do believe that he's behind the cause, and so what we do is we help grieving families, specifically women that were widowed young. However, we don't just help young widows. We have 70-something-year-old widows in our group. We don't just help women that were widowed. We help men that are also widowed. They just don't stay as long as the ladies do. We are building up our children's program. I left teaching in June to work full-time for We Do Care. The crazy part of it is by freeing myself or leaving teaching and doing this full-time, we went from 20-something adults and all their children, which is a good amount of people to serve. We're now at 54 adults and all their children. So we have like exploded the spaces we used to use. So we're looking for a space. The NRT Sheep Pasture is kind enough to give us meeting space starting in May. We're gonna go from 1 support group a month to 2 in person, which means it will be 2 different cohorts. So it'll be about 18 to 20 adults and their children. And then we're doing a virtual. So it's just like all of a sudden, with being given time to focus, we've really like blown up. So I'm going to release myself from the adult facilitator role and become the director of the children's program and continue to wear all the hats that I wear. But we're hiring a part-time administrative assistant and / fundraiser to help, because when you go from 20-something adults to 54, literally in like 6 weeks, it's a lot. And it's almost like when I go out in public, I can recruit 2 more people no matter where I am. And it's almost like I want to talk about it because I want to tell everyone about it. But then I'm like, we already have 54 adults and all their kids. You know, that's a lot to serve. So yeah, it's been a ride. I've been doing it since, I'd say 2011, and it started with care packages.
Do you know that my mother was a widow at 30 or maybe 28?
I had no idea.
Yeah, so my biological dad died when he was 30, and so my mother must have been 28, and she was left with me, I was 2, and my sister who was 5.
I had no idea.
Yeah, so I don't really, I don't know what she did for support or anything,
Right.
but the ironic thing is that when she met my dad now, who adopted my sister and I, they got married on Valentine's Day.
Oh,
How weird is that, though? Right?
Wow.
Yeah.
No coincidence.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
So to that story, thank you so much for sharing. Over the years, I still have a mom and a dad. So over the years, I have worried about Jace, who's now 18, the most. So when he was really little, right, my concern, he was 3 and he lost his best friend, what was I going to do to ensure him that he would have the same great childhood that I had, knowing that at 3 years old, he tragically lost his dad, he just vanished from his life. So over the years, when I go to Rotaries, when I go to Lions Clubs, like anywhere that I've gone and met adults, the adults will talk to me afterwards after I present. And I've yet to meet an adult that lost their parent as a child that says they wish they had a We Do Care for them. Every single time they've told me they wish that their mom or dad had a We Do Care support group. So I just got the chills. That isn't what I would have expected 10 years ago to hear. I would expect if I met adults that didn't have a group for themselves and they hear how amazing our children's program is, I kind of would have expected them to say like, oh, I wish I had that. But instead they say, I wish my surviving parent had that, because then they would have been okay or more okay. So the premise behind We Do Care is actually it's not just an organization, it's a movement. So it's to enlist as many people as we can to care about grieving people, grieving individuals and grieving families, including the women, that are surviving without their spouse, but also those children. And so for the children part of it, I've always wanted, the elementary school teacher in me has always wanted those children, just like my own children, to have a happy childhood. Because every kid deserves that, right? There's no kid in the world that deserves not to have a happy childhood. And what I firmly stand strong in is that when you allow a woman that was widowed young an opportunity to learn about her worth and that she can stand strong in her power and that her children are not baggage. I have heard so many times over the years, I did get married, and I've heard people say, like, you are so lucky to have Tom. And I actually flip it back and go, he's so lucky to have my kids and me. And I don't mean that in an egotistical way, but he was a single man with a dog when I met him that had never been married and no kids. And my kids are gifts, you know? And I didn't do anything to have my best friend die, you know? He died tragically in a car accident, and then our whole life changed. So it's very important for me to have the women, when they come in, know their worth, their value, and how it is their job to protect their family. It's also their job to provide for their family. Our organization doesn't pay their rent. We're not going to pay their electric bill. We are going to bring in speakers and allow them to learn how to budget, you know, how to pay bills, how to save for a vacation so their kids can go on vacation with them, how to learn job skills, and just different things like preparing for the future. But also, we've started partnering with organizations that have to do with domestic violence and different types of abuse, because not only is it important that the mother doesn't abuse her children in any way and that they don't self-medicate, but that they don't bring in a predator. They don't bring in someone that ends up doing more harm to their family than good. So it's really exciting, and I love to talk about it. I really do. I was definitely a teacher since I was 6 years old, so I did that up until last year. And I feel like this is just teaching in a different way, like teaching people how to appropriately grieve, teaching friends of people that lost their loved one how they can support that person, teaching the community how you can show up for our memorial walk in May and you can honor any loved one or coworker or someone that you cared about that you lost. And it could be 20 years ago. It could be 4 years ago, you know? It's exciting. Like it's exciting. I notice sometimes some people when they see me, because they see me as like, oh, there's that grief lady, but it's actually the opposite. Like I have so much joy. I am 49 and I've lived far past when John lived. And I have like a maturity mentally that's in my 70s, because when I was 34, I lost my best friend. We were supposed to get married. We were supposed to raise our kids. And because of that, so much in my life, I think I was already a good person, but so much in my life opened up to expand or awaken that raising my kids is super important. Being a career-driven person is important. Making the organization last and thrive and serving people, but also like there's so much I don't care about that a lot of people, it takes them to their 70s to kind of think about it like that. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. Sudden loss will do that to you.
Yeah.
What do you do for fundraisers to support the organization? Because now you have the hat of chief fundraiser, grant writer. You know?
I always have been the chief fundraiser. So I always have been the program director, the person that does the intakes and the onboarding, the person that talks to the donors, the supporters, the person that recruits the volunteers, and all that. We did a gala in the middle of March recently, and leading up to it, I almost ended up in the hospital twice. Instead, I went to the hydration lounge in town so that I could just like be okay and get through the event. We do a gala once a year. We're going back to a golf tournament in the fall. We vary it up. Like we did a comedy night last year and we hadn't done one for a few years. We partnered with the local Lions because they asked us to. Interestingly enough, the people that donate to us are typically middle-class, hardworking people that ongoing, like 2 to 4 times a year, they donate to us, whether that be $25 or $100. Events are part of what we do. We haven't received government funding. Because I was working full-time as a teacher for so long, there's only so much I can do fundraising-wise.
Yeah.
But now it's important because we've grown so much, we have to bring on staff. whether the staff looks like interns or volunteers, we have to bring on more people. I would not like to be in the hospital, you know. I would like to run it effectively with more of a team. So we recently built up our board of directors, and I also have an advisory council. So Cheryl Opper from School on Wheels just onboarded as an advisor. I've known her for at least 8 or 9 years, but she just came on board, which is great. Stephen Prone from the Prone Foundation just came on board as an advisor to me. And then a wonderful friend of mine is also on the advisory council. So what I've done, because I didn't go to school for business, but yet here I am running a business, right? And it's a business that depends solely on donations and being creative. So I sit down with the most intelligent people I can find. So if I don't know banking and financing or budgeting, or if I don't know spreadsheets, like I literally just talk and ask people. And I try to find people that are way above that so that they can teach me skills or point me in the right direction. It's important to me for this to succeed because I didn't have it when I was 34. And I want the people in my situation to have it, because I think some of the most successful things that I did when I was that young and lost him was I kept a roof over our head. Sometimes you have to move. We didn't have to move because I had a decent salary. He was already unemployed for 14 months when he died. So the flip side of that is he had more time with our son. The other side of that is I was already used to paying all the bills. So I guess in some ways that was a good thing, you know, that he didn't have a job. He had gone back to school. And so I kept my job. That was a big deal. So I only took 2 weeks off when he died. And that might sound weird, but the first week was February vacation. So those 5 days, like he died on a Sunday. Monday I was at the funeral parlor. By Thursday and Friday he was waked and then buried. So that week of vacation, like we took care of what we had to take care of. And then the next 2 weeks I took 10 days off. And that worked for me because I enjoy being busy, and in the classroom is where I belong with kids. So I was going to have a baby in the middle of August, 6 months after his death. So I needed to save my days because now I was a single mom raising 2 babies. And in 6 months I needed a maternity leave. So I didn't want to use extra time for bereavement. And it felt like Jace at age 3 and me just needed to go back to a routine. And it worked. Because, you know, teachers do have like vacations. So, I mean, we had an April vacation to look forward to, and then we had the summer.
I don't think it sounds weird, because what are you going to do?
Right.
Right?
And what do people do? What's the right way to grieve?
Well, being idle, I don't think is
No.
for me personally.
I couldn't do it either. No.
You have to just, I have to jump back in.
But are we brushing things under the carpet?
Yes, but
Yeah.
sometimes that's okay because it can kind of seep out as it needs to seep out.
Right.
But
You can
sitting home and stewing and being idle.
Right, there's no way. I remember when
gonna
my mother
spiral.
passed away, you know, my closest girlfriends wanted to come over and sit. I'm like, oh no, I'm not gonna be home. My girlfriend's like, well, I want to drop off food. I'm like, well, you can put on the steps. I'm not gonna be home. I have work and I'm not gonna be here.
Yeah.
I didn't want to sit around.
didn't want to sit around.
No,
I
no.
get that.
Yeah.
I get that a lot.
Well, and in the beginning too, it's lots of hype, right? There's services, and people come to visit you, and people drop things off, and people touch base with you, and then the dark days settle in.
Right.
And that's when it's really hard.
Yeah.
Particularly depending on the time of year. It can be worse here in New England, right?
Right.
Is fighting that off. And you're in the shock in the beginning. Those first couple
Such
weeks, you were
shock.
just in shock. And
I think that whole first year I was in robot mode.
I bet.
Yeah.
And the pregnancy actually protected me because I was only 3.5 months pregnant. We had already had the genetic testing, so I had to go back to the genetic testing because it was a 2-week gap without him. Luckily, the genetics was fine. But I would say the pregnancy protected me as I watch other people go through it, because you're in mama bear mode, and I definitely wanted to bring that baby boy into this world. So it was about Jace, who was 3, and then the pregnancy was about protecting. I called him my angel baby. We didn't know if it was a girl or boy. Johnny picked out the boy's name and I picked out the girl's name. So it was either Anthony or Angelina. And yeah, so 6 months later, this dark-haired, blue-eyed baby boy was born. I wished for that as a girl. Yeah, and then his eyes changed. After like a year, they went from blue to like brown. He still swears they were blue for a year and a half. But yeah, no, it's amazing. Like I get to raise two fabulous boys. That I have a freshman and a senior in high school. And it's a crazy ride. Like I meet the most incredible people. And I think my favorite part of all this is the stories. People really just want to like share. And sometimes I've met complete strangers that open up like the most beautiful stories and raw and vulnerable. And their best friend will go, how did you do that, Julie? Like, I didn't even know that about them, you know? And I'm like, I started. Like, I just was open. I'm not afraid to talk about death and dying. I think it's important. 5 years ago, we went through a pandemic that was ridiculously crazy, right? And isolated us all. And many of us had COVID losses. Whether it was a COVID loss or it was during COVID, we lost somebody. I lost my aunt that was 49. She died. And my uncle had 4 kids. And just watching, it was 2 adult kids and 2 teenage kids, and just watching like what it was like for them to not have the typical services, right? Because it happened.
That was my mom too. So we had to live stream.
You did?
Yeah.
That's cool.
I loved it though. I
Yeah.
attended that.
You know what? It worked
It was
out.
very
It
memorable.
worked out for us because my parents lived in Florida. So it worked out. Yeah.
Okay.
And you could see everybody joining in.
Yeah.
and
Yeah. It was like a Zoom call.
It was actually awesome. I wish they did them all the time because sometimes you
Right.
can't attend.
Right.
Yeah.
Recently there was one I couldn't attend, and I was bummed because I would have loved to have.
Yeah, yeah.
Right.
But I don't know. Is that inappropriate now to like broadcast?
That's actually a good idea.
I
They
think they're
probably
still
should.
maybe doing it. But I mean, in the Jewish funerals are much different though. We all get up and we talk about the person.
Love that.
So the rabbi does the prayers, but everybody from the family, if they want to, the grandkids, the brother, whoever, gets up and talks about the person. So everybody's usually bawling their eyes out.
That's beautiful though. That's a
Yeah.
beautiful way to honor them.
Yeah, yeah.
And cathartic, right? Kind of gets it all out.
So one of my things, you just gave me this from, you mentioned funeral. One of my things right now is giving people flowers while they're alive, including men. Like giving them beautiful arrangements of flowers, because why the hell do we wait till they die to buy flowers in their honor? You know? And you'd be surprised with guys that it might be their first time they've ever gotten flowers.
You should get Anthony flowers.
I will be buying him flowers today. I'll have a fabulous delivery.
I love flowers.
I love
Yeah.
fresh cut flowers.
And I hate getting them when someone dies because they're just that reminder.
I had so many flowers in my house.
I hate it. But you know what I started doing is I wait like a couple months
Smart.
and then send them because it's nice at that point.
That's what I do too.
And you're like, oh, a nice bouquet. And it's like, and I'll just say, wanted
of
to,
you, or-
thinking of you and wanted to give you a little treat for the
Perfect.
day.
Because
That's
it's
nice.
overwhelming the first month.
And then and they're
Right.
just like, you're just overwhelmed.
You're like handing
and-
them to neighbors.
Yes,
Right.
and then you feel badly and like,
Yeah.
but the gesture is there, and you have that feeling of just complete love from your community, you know.
Even just a card in the mail, 4 months,
Right.
6 months,
Yeah.
8 months,
Yeah.
13 months later, like
Yes.
when people don't, right? Because at a 1 year, people might remember, right? Like, especially mine, you know, many people are like, on Valentine's Day, I think of you.
Yeah, right.
Okay.
Right.
Hope you think of the love and like the friendship. Like, what do
Yeah.
I say? You know, like, great. I'm glad mine's the most tragic story now on Valentine's Day. Yeah.
Well, so I don't know if you remember, but you called me when you were thinking about starting We Do Care.
I did? Mm-hmm. How long ago?
She doesn't remember.
Like 2011, 2012?
Yep.
Because it was care packages before I moved to Easton. And then when I moved to Easton, we were doing a Christmas party, and like everybody wanted to help with the Christmas like gifts and stuff. So it must have been when I was turning it into a nonprofit, like for real.
Yeah, I think so.
Wow.
Yeah. So to see you,
What do you remember about the call? What did I even say?
you didn't know who I was. You knew nothing about me.
I knew you got me my friend next door because you sold her the house.
Yes. But in terms of, so we ran a wiffle ball tournament in Edwin's memory and started a nonprofit that we haven't done anything with, quite frankly, in a long time.
do
We did
now
it for
remember
10
the
years.
conversation.
And someone had suggested that you reach out to me. And I just shared our experience with starting, becoming a 501c3 and having an event and, you know, who to talk to and how to get started. And you were so overwhelmed, but you were starting this beautiful little organization, right? I mean, it's incredible. And to see you balance and do and juggle and, you know, different jobs and raising kids and all the while keeping this organization going and evolving, right? So,
Definitely.
you know, it's when you, oh my God, it's so much work just doing an event but you always had the purpose, right? You always had that, going back to what you just talked about, the reason why you did it, knowing that there's a need there. And so from that need, you now have created this organization where you're now not teaching and you're fully supporting the organization, which is an enormous undertaking, but beautiful and worth it, right? And I
So
see the
worth it.
pictures of the women that you support and how healthy they look in time and having the support system. It's just incredible. So good job.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. One of the things we started to do for a stream of revenue, one of our board members is very business-like. She grew up in business, whereas I grew up with an entire family that served. So that's what I know. She knows business, and it's great having her as a counterpart because she has constantly said to me the last few years, you have to have multiple streams of income. So she developed the volunteering at Gillette program. Like it was already in existence, but she spearheaded it. So she coordinates the volunteers. Her name's Sandy. Sandy coordinates the volunteers, does a lot of behind the scenes work to get people to show up. And what that does is if you volunteer about 8 hours for a shift, you get to be at a concert, running a concession stand with us. And I do at least 70% of them. Like I actually like it. Even though I'm busy as heck, I do like going to them because I get to know the volunteers on a different level. And then I get to tell them about us. So they're not just showing up to be at a Pats game or a Revs game or a concert, right? Like this is who you're serving and why it's important. So we get $100 per person donated to We Do Care. And then if we run a whole stand, that means you have to have at least 12. Then we get $100 per person plus at least 16. It went up, it was 14%. 16% of all sales except for alcohol.
Oh, wow.
So imagine like the pretzels, the pizza, the sodas, the overpriced candy.
Yeah.
They donate, this season it'll be 16%.
Oh, that's huge.
Plus you get tips. So all of that, sometimes it's a $700 check, sometimes it's a $3,000 check. Depends on how many people we have and the sales within the concession stand. But we had 17 volunteer for Taylor Swift. Wow. Yeah, and it's just a really nice opportunity. Obviously in the spring and summer months, we get a lot of high school and college kids. But it's a cool way for, you know, people that are retired or have the summer off or just say like, I don't have the money to give to We Do Care, but I care about them and I want them to do well. So I can give 8 hours, even if it's once a month or, you know, a couple times in a season. And it really does help because it keeps a steady stream of income coming. So, yeah.
Yeah, that's the hard part, is sustaining financially.
It is because we have for the last 11, 12 years. So we're a nonprofit since this May, it'll be 9 years, but we've been doing it longer than that. So we've always provided a service for free. So to provide a much needed service for free, but then continuously ask your community for money. And there's so many other great causes out there.
So how does it work? So let's say I'm a widow. Suddenly, what happens?
So a lot of our referrals are either word of mouth or internet searches.
So Stephanie will go to you and say, you need to reach out to Meredith. Or how does it work?
They usually reach out to me. I don't usually reach out to them.
The individual will reach out to you?
Yeah, like, so when it happens, when it's somebody in Easton,
Yeah.
there's so many people, mostly women, that know about us, right? So there's so many overlaps. Like, the one new widow might get 8 friends within the first 2 weeks. They're like, you got to talk to Julie Brennan.
Got
You
it.
know, so I'll get Facebook messages, I'll get emails, I'll get texts, I'll get phone calls. There's some women that have so many reaches because of maybe if their husband was a coach, you know, or if they're a teacher. Like sometimes within 2 days, I've been given 12 reach outs for one individual.
Okay.
Which is insane.
Yeah.
And then I love it that they want to help the person, but I'm like, they need to go through their process. Like, they really don't need to talk to me on day 3.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
I'm totally here for whenever they want to talk to me. I'm a text or a phone call away. However, let their family go through the respectful process. And I know that people have such perfect intentions. And the process is, the way that I onboard is I ask them to send me an email, typically. We set up a phone call. Prior to the phone call, I give them the website and ask them to look over the entire website and read Julie's story, because I do not need to retell my story every single time. So just a quick read on the page tells you like what happened to me. The most weird thing to me is, over the years, I've had people come to me, and if I forget to ask how you were referred or how you found us, I make an assumption, because I can look on social media and I could see like, this is our overlap, and I make an assumption, and my assumption is usually wrong. There's many times when someone just literally found us on a Google search because they needed a young widows group, or they needed and wanted something for their children. So they just put the keywords in, they found us, it popped up. But I was so shocked because they had a family member that lived on my street, or someone that was already through our program that didn't refer them. So it's really weird to me. Like, I don't know if there's something that people are afraid to say something. I would think if you have this organization that's helpful, you would want to, but I think it goes back to death and dying. People are afraid. They're afraid to upset the person. They're afraid to talk about them. Like, it's just, in America, we're just not really good with grief and loss and helping our people, you know?
Oh, agree completely.
We had a death doula on. We have an episode with a death
yeah,
doula.
that was
She's
fabulous.
fantastic. Her name is Amy, Aimee. I forget her married name. I grew up with her in Sharon.
How
So
nice.
it was Amy Lesberg. Yeah, so she came on our podcast, and she is excellent.
So what does she do? She helps someone that's crossing over, or she helps the people afterwards?
She helps.
And before. So she'll have a sit down with a group of women. I told my mom she should do it with her girlfriends and map out their death. Not the actual death, but have conversations about, what do you want for a service?
Right. What do you want? Do you want to be
making it
buried? Do you
plan.
want to be cremated?
Yeah.
Do you want it to be happy? Do you want people to wear a certain color? Do you want certain music to be playing?
Is there anything you don't want?
Oh, wow.
Right? And mapping out.
It's really cool.
How cool.
Yes,
Right.
really.
So it's not even when people are sick. It's literally just,
yeah,
like, I could do it now.
do both. Yeah.
She has workshops.
How interesting.
Yeah.
I think I love that.
Yeah.
Because I've told my sons
You
I
should
want
connect
a
with
party.
her.
Yeah.
Like, just throw a party
We'll send you the
for
link
my
to
life.
the
Yeah.
podcast with her. It
That's
was
so
really
cool.
inspiring.
Yeah.
And to your point, so needed. I mean, I tell my husband, if he has an open casket for me, I'm going to haunt him for the rest of his
Right.
days.
And I
if
also
predecease
right.
him.
I also know that.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I'll make
No
sure it doesn't happen.
open casket.
No one's allowed to see you, not even your family?
No. Gone. I'm gone. Gone. Yeah.
You know, I decided I want to be cremated, but I don't think I want to go in the ground.
Okay.
Yeah.
Can I have a little bit?
Yeah.
Okay.
I feel like I need to be like,
Although actually I don't, because then you can't do it. You have to keep that for your whole
Well,
life.
that's it,
Because
right.
there's nowhere it can like go.
So my mother wants to be a tree. She wants to be planted as a tree.
Oh, I like that.
I
They do
love
that
that.
now. Yeah.
I love that.
I think it had to do with her not wanting to pick where she was buried, because her parents are down in Bourne. My dad can be down in Bourne because he was military. Her family has a plot in Randolph.
So she doesn't know where to go.
Maybe.
Right.
Yeah. And I think she's gotten in touch with nature, and I think she just thought that would be cool, that her grandchildren would see like that the spot for Mimi was like a tree.
Yeah, I like
I
that.
love that.
Different.
Yeah.
Very non-traditional.
Well, I didn't know if you have ashes out of state, the only way you have to put them through the postal service. You have to, it has to go overnight. You have to have the cremation stickers all over it. So we had to send some ashes home from Florida, and this particular person always complained about the postal system. So we sent her home with some cousins that were driving back here. The cousins said, do you need us to take anything from Florida? I'm like, actually, I do.
Perfect.
We sent them home with Mother.
Perfect.
Mother spent a night at the Four Seasons. Then she had a fabulous drive home from Florida.
I love it.
And now I have her.
And she wasn't late in the mail.
She was not late.
Late or lost in the mail.
I could not. She complained about that. The Boynton Beach Postal Service, there was no way we could put her in the mail. So she had a fabulous drive home.
I love it. That is awesome. That is great.
Yes. Yeah.
That is great.
Mm-hmm.
You have her ashes now?
Yeah. Yeah. We're figuring it out.
Yeah.
She always wanted to be at Shire Memorial, but she never bought a plot. So, but I was in touch with Shire Memorial, and there's actually space near her parents and all the Carvers, her family.
Oh, that's
So, yeah, and actually my biological dad's there, and then my ex-husband's family's there too, which she knew. So she's going to be with everybody.
Yeah.
But I almost feel weird about burying her ashes in the ground.
Really?
And I said to my sister, I go, I don't know, this is weird, but ever since I brought Mom's ashes home, my luck has changed. Things are going fabulous.
Awesome. So maybe you need to keep them, or some of them.
Well, I think I'll keep some of them.
Yeah.
But
she did want to be buried there?
she wanted a plot. So now we have to figure out, what are we going to put on it? Because we have to do something a little extra.
Yeah.
We might put a little crown on it, because she did
love
love
it.
the royal family,
love it.
and she was a queen mother. So we're figuring all of that out now.
I love it.
So our big thing now is, okay, so we're going to bury the ashes. So my sister and I are like, what are we supposed to do? Are we supposed to get a rabbi for this? Or do she and I just say some things while they're burying the ashes? Like, we're not sure what to do. So in the Jewish tradition, you have an unveiling a year later after you bury the body.
Beautiful.
And so they cover up the plaque. And that's when we're going to have everybody and have a lunch and do the unveiling. But in the meantime, she's like, Mom will be so mad if no one's there when they bury her.
Oh.
So we're trying to figure that out
Well,
now.
you're making an event.
And when will the 1 year be?
Well, that's another story.
Oh, okay.
We've gone a little beyond the 1 year.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah,
when will
because-
the unveiling be? Whenever it gets
Yeah,
planned.
soon, probably in the next few months.
Mom's extra, so it has to be a big thing,
She's
right?
so extra, right? And my father had this big, after she was cremated, he went to Home Goods and he had an electrician come in and put a big spotlight on. And he bought
my God.
flowers. It was all
my
flowers, and her
God.
picture was a whole thing.
Oh my God.
It was a whole thing.
Do you
I
think
mean,
she
there's
loved
so
it?
much I could
Do you
say.
think she loved it?
Oh, she loved it. She loved it. And now we're selling the house, and her ashes were still there. And my sister told my nephew, put Mimi in a cabinet. I'm like, you're going to be in so much trouble.
So much trouble.
Mother is not going to want to be
Oh
in a
my God.
cabinet. It's
Right,
been a
right,
whole
right.
thing.
That is
But you know
awesome.
what? We've had laughter
I was
throughout
just gonna say, I hope
we've
you laughed.
laughed
All of it.
because my mother was a character, so we've laughed.
What was your mom's name?
Lois.
Lois.
Lois Jane.
Lois was on the show.
Yes.
She was?
Oh, yes.
Oh my
my
gosh.
mother's very outspoken.
I love it.
Yeah, yeah. So we've been dealing with the ashes now.
And she was also a letter writer.
A scathing,
I love that.
scathing letter
Not
writer.
good writing?
No.
Or
Well, no, she.
if she was mad at you, she'd
Yeah.
type you a letter?
It wasn't me.
She had a bad experience.
Yeah, she had a lot of bad experiences at her clubhouse.
Oh, okay. She just said to let it out. That was
She's
her way
like,
of expressing
I
it.
am writing a scathing email. So my nephew's actually collected a bunch of letters that she's written, and they are phenomenal.
I love it.
They could be a Seinfeld book.
Maybe they could be published.
They
That's
could
fantastic.
be. They could be. They're excellent.
I
Yeah.
feel like the cover would be like a spotlight with her picture. Some sunglasses on. Like,
Lois. Yeah.
that's awesome. Can we pull cards?
Yes, I love pulling cards.
What?
Right up my alley.
Okay.
No
So
way.
I brought Love Your Inner Goddess.
I love that necklace. Can I
Oh.
tell you that again?
I
So this is
know.
my grandmother's,
pretty.
and I'm the first
Oh.
granddaughter.
So you got
And
the
my mother got it
necklace.
first, and I expected to not get it till my mom passed. My mom so kindly gave it to me a couple years ago.
It's beautiful.
So it's my protection.
I love
because my
that.
grandmother was my best person.
Ah.
Like she was so good. We called her Nanny,
Nanny.
and she put up with a
I
lot
can't
of
wait to be a
lot of
grandmother.
things.
Really?
But I don't know. I have no name. What are they gonna call me?
All right, are you ready?
Yeah.
So Alana Fairchild, love your inner goddess. Oracle cards to express your divine feminine spirit.
Oh.
So
I love
this
it.
is the book. That means
Okay.
we'll get to look it up after we do them.
Okay.
All right. These are gorgeous cards. I love them. Like they're super, super pretty. So I feel like your mother is definitely here and coming through. So your message that you get, just think it's from Mama. So ask Mama what you're supposed to hear, Steph. Meredith, do you have a female up in heaven that you were close with? Like grandma or aunt or
Oh, both
anybody?
my grandmothers.
Okay.
I think she's going to tell you have to
Oh, what you
throw
gonna say?
Alexa a big party.
I can't. I said, Alexa. So my daughter's turning 30, and so she wants to invite. She has a bazillion. She's friends with all my friends. My
Okay.
friends actually call her before they call me.
Love it.
She
Oh my
just is
God.
friendly with a million people. So she decided. So we talked about it, and she said, "Well, what about Thorny Lee?" So Thorny Lee is who those of you who
Can
don't
I
know.
interrupt for 1 second
Yes.
so I can set the stage? So we're at work with like our work peeps, right?
Okay.
And it's Alexa and Stephanie. And now there's me and other colleagues, Lauren
Yeah.
and Donna, right? And so, and we're like the older women kind of watching this conversation and how it's going to transpire. And we, of course, all want her to throw this big, fabulous party for her. And Alexa does too.
Right.
Alexa said,
good.
I said, well, what's your budget? And she said, oh, Mother said it doesn't matter.
Which is not true. Which is not true at all.
Is Alexa your firstborn?
Yes. Yes. She's very high
And
maintenance.
so then, so you just saw eyes
No
darting
budget.
across.
No budget. Who does she think she is? So Meredith's like, all right, she goes, I want to talk about this party. So you're going to walk into Thorny Lee and you're going to awkwardly talk to people. And then you're going to go to the bar where you have to pay for a drink. And then what? Like,
Because I
what
said,
are you
going to have
doing?
like
Yeah.
games? And she said, like I was so pathetic.
Oh my
Right? I
God,
said, well,
oh my
are you
God.
having a keg party? Like what?
Right.
What
What's
is
the
this?
theme?
What are we
DJ, is there
doing?
dancing?
What's the
Right.
theme? Well,
Yeah.
we were going to get a DJ. But after Meredith went through that,
I went through like how the night is going to transpire because the team runs an event. Well, Alexa
What's
and
the party
Brooke
plan?
do.
Right.
the
I
St.
went, and I
Jude's.
love it.
Yes,
right.
they
Love
do a
it.
It
fabulous
is so
job.
much
Love it.
work.
So I said, that's an event. That's a party. You're inviting people to come. And so how's it going to roll out? So it ended with the two of them fighting and Alexa closed the door and went in her office.
yeah, she's like, you know what? I can't talk about this right now. So now we've decided it's
funny.
probably going to be a Buddies.
Yeah.
We love Buddies.
Union Villa?
Yes, they
Well,
have.
but
Well, they
also
have
it
the
was
tent
difficult.
out there.
It was
Oh, so
family and
cool.
friends, and there might be
Right.
some family who might not want to come at night and do this. So you said maybe on the cruise.
Yeah, so
that
we're
was
going
a
on
big change.
We're going on a Weinstein cruise, and there's
Yeah.
45
Nice.
Weinsteins.
Oh, wow.
So we can celebrate on the cruise for
band.
Oh,
that.
so it's just an ongoing party.
It's an ongoing
Is pickleball involved if you're going to be at Buddies?
No,
No pickleball.
No.
No.
They have the outdoor
Right there.
area.
they have the
know.
outdoor tent, and
Yeah.
and there's a bar in there.
Yeah,
So
really
it's
And the pizza's good.
the pizza is the best
Pizza's
pizza
decent.
in all the
For bar
land.
pizza.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like it.
That is my favorite pizza.
So that's going to be more casual, which is
Yeah,
good.
and this way people can come and go.
Yes.
They can come say hi to Alexa.
Yes.
I'm not overwhelmed with all the decorating at
Yes.
Buddies. I'm
Yes.
overwhelmed at Thorny Lee. That
Yeah,
was
that
too
makes
much.
sense. Like a wedding.
was a
Yes,
wedding, yeah.
it's
You need an
not-
event planner.
Yes,
Yeah.
come on. Like
Yeah.
seriously.
And who has time for that? You already get up at 5 in the morning.
I don't
Right.
have time for that. And she's not going to plan it either.
No. When I was asking her the details, she was slowly going
That
into
was
it.
so great that you did that, by the way.
Well, that's-
because now
that's what I
I'm
have to do.
crossing that off the
Yeah,
list.
yeah.
It's over.
Yeah.
It didn't make sense.
No.
All right,
All
you
right, so I'm making
define
it hard.
feminine. So let's see what Stephanie needs to hear today.
Should I close my eyes? or
Whatever
should I
you
do this?
feel.
Okay, right here.
Okay, I'm going to pick one for you as well. What did it say?
You are stronger than you think.
And it's Magdalene.
Magdalene.
Okay, now look at the picture Like look at it and see what pops out at you. What about the picture like speaks to you?
Her lips, and my mother had big, full lips.
She did?
That was my mother's thing.
Okay.
Yep.
Wow.
The dark hair just is familiar to me.
Mm-hmm.
And my mother also had light eyes.
She did?
This woman has blue eyes. My sister and I have brown eyes, and my mother had green. Or no, she had blue. My mother had blue eyes.
She did?
Yeah, she had blue eyes.
Okay, so you had number 31, right?
31. I don't have my glasses on.
It says, Magdalene, you're reading. So there's 3 parts to it. Reading. You can experience a feeling of being completely reborn, like a mythical phoenix rising from the ashes of what once was. The past completely burned away. It is not about forgetting the past, but it is the reality. I just got the chills. But it is the reality that the past doesn't have any hold over you. You are being given a spiritual blessing from deep within your heart to cast off anything and everything without exception from the past that does not bring you peace. The universe wants to take it from you, so let it go. There is now a brand new you, clean, fresh, and ready to start again with the protective grace of the divine all around you and within you, shining bright and true. Perfect timing for spring, your rebirth.
Nice change.
That is beautiful.
That's so freeing.
Oh.
You are unburdened, untethered.
Lord, I am free.
Do you own a pashmina?
Yes.
Okay, it says your sacred ritual. I'll let you read this later, the guidance. The first sentence you do need to hear though. The divine feminine spirit in you needs to feel cherished, adored, loved, and worshipped for all that she is, for all that she offers. She has much love to give from her heart through the intimate sharing of her innermost self. Through connection, touch, and the sacred pleasure of her body, she knows the expressions of love through the body are a sacred gift of high value and worthy of appreciation and respect. You can read the rest. That sounds amazing. It says you can use a red scarf or pashmina as a veil in this ritual, or you can just use your imagination. And what you're supposed to do for this Magdalene card is place the red veil over your head and say, are you ready?
I will do this tonight.
The red veil of love, created from the blood of the divine heart made flesh, cleanses and protects me now. Through this extraordinary grace, I am freed from the pain of judgment, betrayal, and abandonment. I reclaim my feminine dignity. I accept and honor my sacred beauty. I have like serious chills right now.
That was
so
great.
good.
Now I have to tell you a little other part of the story. When my biological father passed away, that entire side of the family abandoned us. And I don't care, I'm over it, because I don't even know these people.
Yeah.
Wow.
But imagine having grandparents in Quincy, Massachusetts, who didn't even want to see their 2 little girls, their son's daughters. Like, it's unbelievable. That whole side of the family, I never, ever knew them.
That's crummy.
Isn't that unbelievable?
It is.
It's really.
Do you help people work through stuff like that?
Tell me a little bit more. Like what?
Like just,
Like when their family cuts them off?
yeah, around that time.
Good question. So we're going to be opening up a center once we secure a property. And because I no longer teach and I get to do this full time, as we bring in the administrative assistant and we bring in other people to help do all the things I've done, what I'm really good at is teaching. So when we open up the center, what it looks like is a space where there can be different workshops and classes going on. So things like that I know are in the future. If we're able to buy the property we want, we'll buy it in July, which will give us August to set up, which will mean just like a school year in September will open, which means we'll have different offerings like that because we'll have an actual physical space with all these rooms. So for sure, yeah. And so I started a side business called Joy with Julie, and Joy with Julie does workshops and different things to help people through trauma.
I took a college course at Stonehill about death and dying.
Good. Everyone should.
It was through...
Everyone should.
The teacher was, I think, the director at Old Colony Hospice.
Someday I think I
Offered
will
a
teach a
class.
class like that.
It was really great.
Someday I think I will. I got invited by one of the warriors like 5 years ago to go during one of her, it was at Quincy College, but it was like the death part of it. And I went, And it was probably one of the most beautiful experiences in adult education I ever had. It was just after Thanksgiving, and it was maybe 20-something adults, and they wrote up these, like, whatever you call it, reflections afterwards, and told the professor it was their best class they've ever attended. But I opened up a conversation, like, who has had someone that has died, and it opened up a conversation of, like, how their families handled it very poorly.
Well, that's it. I mean, we just don't talk about this. And it doesn't have to be necessarily sad conversations about grieving and the catharsis that goes along with it. It also, this class was the mechanics of what happens when somebody dies. Even in the media, oh my God, my husband had a heart attack. Now what do I do? Right? He's dead on the floor. I know that sounds horrible, but like, legit, what do you do?
You got to handle it.
Right? And then, and I mean, I had a procedure done with and my husband took me in, not any big deal, but I was like, oh my God, if I croak on the table, he needs to have access to my bank account.
Right.
And I was
you know
like,
where the password
I need you to pay attention. This is where the password is in this. And he's driving like this. And I'm like, just listen, confirm that you heard this. He's like, this really isn't a big deal procedure. I'm like, you never know.
You never know.
Right?
Yeah.
And if you have experienced sudden death,
Sure. Yeah.
I mean, I remember the stuff my mom went through. You have in your household a division of labor that you might not have any idea.
Correct.
She said, I don't know how much to tip the paper guy, not because I'm an idiot, because your father handled it.
Yeah, right.
When is the garbage done? What day is this? You know, when you have that division in your household and all of a sudden it's gone suddenly, the person is left grieving, and they also have to pick up all their chores and the stuff that they did and have no idea.
100%.
And you can't just have access to their credit card. That was another one. They were like,
You have access to nothing.
Nothing.
If your name isn't on the bill, you can't even call Macy's. You can't call Comcast. You can't call for your cell phone.
Correct.
Nothing.
And their credit is tied into yours. I mean, it's like you got to make sure you have all that stuff buttoned up. You never know what tomorrow's going to bring.
Never know.
My sister helped out a family in the North Shore. The mother died of an aneurysm. 3 kids. That was it. She was gone. He's like, I don't even know how to go food shopping.
Right.
I don't know who our plumber is.
Right.
I don't know the bills that are coming in this house. I don't know anything. And the kids were going off to college. My sister made lists. She had to take them to Target. She had to do all the shopping.
Wow.
She got them all organized. She
So kind,
did
so
a
loving.
big notebook and plumber, electrician, household things. It was sudden death.
Yeah.
Wow. Do you know what pisses me off is it's 2025 and still when a woman loses her husband and has children, nobody swoops in like that. When a man does, it's just such a double standard.
It's so
what
true.
really breaks my heart still to this day is nobody's swooping in and helping that mama because they say, she's a mom. She can handle
Because
her
we
kids.
can do it. We're supposed to.
It's
Right.
so
we can do it all.
not right. It's so not right with society. Like what I have learned is self-medication happens. When you don't go knock on that door and see how those kids are, mamas could be drinking, popping pills, staying in bed and not getting up to do things for the children.
Right.
And it's so unfair. Like why do they swoop in because it's a man, assuming that the man can't figure things out, but the woman is just like, you're a mom.
Right.
I don't like that. I don't, because what our organization has seen is women fall hard. Some women fall hard. Not to say they all do, but most of them don't have a family backing them like people assume they do. And when it happened to me, Johnny's family lived in New Jersey. So his mom and dad are only Spanish speaking. At the time I was not fluent in Spanish. Thank God I am now. But so his elderly Spanish speaking parents weren't much help to me.
Right.
His brother wasn't much help to me. And then you had the extended family, his cousins in Jersey. So the Jersey cousin, which was like Johnny's sister, said, like 2 years later, oh, I thought your brother was helping. Well, if everybody thinks someone else is helping, who's actually in fact helping?
Right.
And everyone's just like, somebody stepped in, I'm good, you know? So I feel like We Do Care to me is more of a movement to talk about this kind of stuff, get people talking about it, as well as enlist the helpers. So not just the helpers that show up for our support group, the people that come to our meetings, but the people that come to our events and the donors and the supporters, but it's more about when this happens in your neighborhood or at your job place or in your family, unfortunately, if it does. Some of us are going to know people that die young. Or even if they're not young, support the surviving people.
Right.
But you know what? I've found, so now that we're middle aged, people get sick. People get sick, right? I know moms in town who have cancer or they're going through some type of illness or their kid is. And I don't know what to do. I can show up on the door with a casserole, and I know that also gets annoying after a while because that's what our knee-jerk reaction is to do. And you even hear from them afterwards, like, I just don't have any more room in my freezer. I don't have any more space to know what can you do.
So I have a list of what you can do. And being in this situation, I will tell you the easiest things to do. Show the frig up. Number one, that person is lonely. No matter what they tell you, they are lonely.
Right.
So when their kids go to bed, that's when they're the most lonely. That's when they're going to scroll on social media. That's when they're going to miss their person. Their kids are in bed now. What do? Do the dishes, clean up. They're exhausted. They don't have connection. So the best thing a real good person would do is show up and sit next to them and say absolutely nothing. You do not need to talk to them. Literally just be there. And the person that was able to help me for the first 6 months was a girl I went to high school with, and we were so close. And we sat in her driveway after we went to Panera. We would meet at Panera once a month. And she said, Julie, if I'm quiet, it's because I don't know what to say. And I said, sometimes I just need you to listen. Nothing anyone says is gonna bring him back. So sometimes I just need to vent. And so her quietness, but sitting next to me physically is what I needed. And she was brave enough to be that person because her sister died young. However, other people didn't call me, didn't text me, didn't visit me. And that broke my heart after it was already broken. Because I'm a highly empathic person. I don't have to go through what you went through to put myself in your shoes. I didn't know that not everyone thinks like I think and feels like I feel. Right? So one of the things you can do besides being that person that sits next to on the floor when they're crying and broken is sweep their damn floor. Literally, go inside their physical space. Don't ask them what you can do. Look around and say, does the laundry need to be folded? It isn't always food they need. Does one of the kids have worn out shoes? Do they need a new pair of Nikes? Is it going to be winter? Does somebody outgrow their boots or their jacket? It's like the little things. And for the women that are in it now and have their kids all over sports, one of my girls just told me she spent $100 last week to get her kids where they needed to go. Why would you have to pay people in your own town to get your kids to where they needed to go? $100? She doesn't make that kind of money to pay someone $100 to be able to go to a comedy night. So it's simple things like carpooling and ride shares, and them not having to ask.
Right, just show up.
The last thing a young widow wants to be or a widow wants to be is a burden. So they're not going to ask.
Right.
They're going to expect that you know their needs. And you don't know that, like you said, you want to help, but you don't know how to help.
Yeah.
So what I try to tell my girls is, I know you think everybody knows what you need, but they don't. So if you need a $25 gift certificate or a $100 gift certificate to Shaw's, put it out on social media, do a text thread, have one person in your family or friends group or coworkers that is connected to your other people and have them send the message out for you.
I think that's a great way to end the show.
Are we ending?
Yeah, it's over. It's over, we're done. You did a great job.
So we have an adult egg hunt coming up on April 19th.
Well, first we have to say goodbye.
Yeah. We need to have your socials. So how do people find you? How do they find We Do Care? What are your social media?
WeDoCare.org. My phone number is 774-274-8317.
One more time.
774-274-8317. WeDoCare.org. Hop on our email list to be updated, and we're on Insta and Facebook.
Thank you so much.
This was amazing.
This is great. I loved it.
Bye, girls.
Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.